Okay, another goal analysis. This one should be quite quick, I think. So this is another goal from that match from between Storvreta and Falun that was played, I think, in August or perhaps early September. So let's have a look at the goal. I'll let it play through.
Ser vi åt i den här positionen för Galante Karlström som är så låg i försvarsspelet, och det är faktiskt det som påverkar på det här målet. Han har så följt sin spelare så långt ner att Tobbe Gustafsson bara kan vandra in. När han väl väljer att ta ett kliv upp så är han långt ner. Vi kommer att se det här. Här ser vi att han har följt med Nilsbert ner, så långt ner att det saknas en spelare i 2-1-2-pyramiden så att säga. Pyramider är inte 2-2-5 på en tärning.
All right, let's have a look now. We'll do an initial analysis, positional analysis from here. So, Falun, pretty good shape, defending their net. Dice 5, 2-1-2, whatever you'd like to call it. They've got the middle of the court defended quite well. Goalie's alert. The white guys only have one player on the inside. Here, there's one player here. There's another one down here somewhere. So let's see how we go. This guy brings it up and lays it back to this guy. The guy at the point. Interesting thing here is, as of right now, for Falun, dice 5, 2-2-1. As this guy brings it up the boards, if we have a look at the pairings here, actually, who's with who here? You would think it would be something like this guy is with this guy. This guy is what should probably be paired up with him. This guy is paired up with him, and this guy is paired up with him, and this guy is paired with the other guy back here. And that's largely how it transpires. He comes up the boards. Those pairings are maintained. Dishes it back. Now there's two passes here. Dishes it back, and then he passes back to the player who he originally received the ball from, which draws this guy to be locked onto him. And now this player here is essentially unmarked because you can see our spare man now. This guy was originally locked on with this player here, but because one of the reasons this guy has taken it so far away from the net up here, this defender probably feels a bit uncomfortable following that player all the way up. And that has resulted in this player here, especially with that 1-2 pass there, now locking on with this player, and now the guy who was originally paired up with is essentially unmarked. So let's see how that transpires. There's the pass. Now from here, you can see, because of this guy essentially having to take care of two players, he is a step behind the guy with the ball now. This guy with the ball has pretty much all of this space here to work with, all the way quite deep into the attacking zone, or into, the middle of the court, inside where the defensive structure would normally take them away, especially once we get sort of below this line here, around there. Once he takes it this way, that's a real danger area, and obviously more dangerous as he gets further towards the inside of the court. If he was in this area here, I'll just shade it. That's really dangerous. So we'll see how we go. Now he takes off. He knows that. He takes off. He knows he's got a step. He knows, given his handedness, he carries the ball on the left side, shoots from the left side, that he's going to be able to protect the ball and carry it with speed into this area. He can protect it by just carrying it there and shielding out this player's attempts to disrupt him or to connect with the ball just with his body. He carries it through. You can see this number 7. I think it's number 7. Actually does not a bad job of getting across and trying to push him as wide as possible. And then this guy who's carrying the ball, he's just waiting and waiting to release the shot. And he pretty much waits till he carries it into this area where it's hard to see from this angle, a shooting lane between these two players, and that this guy who's following him cannot get his stick across into. So there is a shooting lane here pretty much. And that's what he's waiting for. And so he comes across and just releases it. You can see that even this guy in the center, he goes down into the block to try and block it with his body, but it doesn't really help. And he beats the goalie over the shoulder on the short side. So the question here is, why was there so much space on that side? Well, it's because this guy here, Galante, is locked on very tightly with his opposite number. So either a couple of things could have happened here to fix this. Either this guy needs to realize what has happened and that this guy was essentially dealing with two players, and he could have followed, if we take it all the way back, if he had followed his player up here, if he'd come with him all the way up, then basically these guys here on the outside, even though this guy might be a defender or defenseman, he would essentially rotate into a forwards position. So this guy would come up into the forward on this side. This guy would rotate across with his player, become the forward on this side. This guy who used to be the forward on the other side would now be the defenseman on the far side, and this guy here, all he has to do is basically rotate a bit this way, and he becomes the defenseman on the side closest to the camera. And this guy in the center, he just pretty much stays in there with his guy. However, because of this defenseman's hesitation to follow his player, see, he backs away now. He backs away, and now there's a good amount of space between him and the guy he was with, which, as we discussed, or as I pointed out earlier, creates it very hard for this guy here. Sorry, that's the wrong tool. Creates it very hard for this guy here. Because of that, the guy at the top, the defender, gets 2-on-1, and it gives this guy space. So that's one option. This guy could have followed up here, and everyone on the outside could have rotated, and just they would have been able to really keep the white team out of the middle or not allow them all this space through here. The other option is basically there needs to be communication and they switch pairings. So in the first option, they would have rotated and stayed with the player they were with. In the second option, there needs to be some talk between pretty much everyone back here, and they need to figure out who's going to go where. So either this guy here, who used to be the forward, can come up here. That means that this guy would now be locked onto him. This guy stays with this guy. This guy would now be locked onto the guy off camera here. Now that's a change because if you remember previously, this guy was paired up with the guy off the camera, and this guy was paired up with this guy here. So they could switch that way, where Galante would come up here. He would then be locked on with this guy. This guy is now here, and either these guys in here, especially these two, these guys would need to communicate as to who is going to take this guy on the outside. Is it going to be this guy's job, or is it going to be this guy's job? And it's most likely probably going to be this guy's job here. So in the second option, they can switch their pairings and have someone come up. And, another alternative inside that second option of switching pairings is that they could switch a little bit differently. This guy would probably be the one who's in the best position to come out and challenge and occupy this space here. So in this alternative switching of pairings, this guy would now be locked on to this guy. This guy's locked on here. And then you can see across the back, it's actually quite easy to read then. This guy is still, or this guy, not still, but he pairs up with this guy here, this guy's here, and this guy's locked on here. And that's the real key here is this guy here, he should probably be talking to this guy here because he's made a decision to back right off from, because normally he's a forward. He's made a decision to stay locked on with this guy because he thinks he's a threat, or for whatever reason, maybe that's the coaching instruction. So he needs to talk to this guy here, and obviously this guy needs to talk as well to say, look, this is the pairing, you need to go become a forward and occupy this space in here. And that way, they would be able to stop the guy who ends up scoring from coming into that space. If he just pushed out this guy in the middle this way, along with this guy moving this way, they would be able to push this guy with the ball now. They'd be able to push him wide out this way, and he's not so much of a scoring threat from out there. But there needs to be communication, and there wasn't. So, this guy here still thought he was a center, and he didn't push out, and as a result, this guy just takes it in and scores pretty much. And I mean, that's, this guy's obviously a really good shooter. He's just waited for the lane to open up and let it go, and he's put it exactly where he wants it. So I would like to know what option you think should have been taken. Should it have been the first option where there was a rotation where everyone stayed paired up with the original player that they were paired up with? Should it have been the second option where the original forward leaves the person that they're paired up with and comes back up to be a forward? Or should it have been the third option where the center becomes a forward and comes up into this position here. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.